Well, it's that time of year again, twinkling lights, festive cheer, and Santa's watching you. So as Christmas approaches, many parents and caregivers potentially reach for Santa as a quick fix for managing individuals' behaviours. But have you ever stopped to ask, is this really helpful? Today, we're going to unwrap the reasons why using Santa as a discipline method might not be the gift you think it is, and exploring better alternatives to foster positive behaviour during the holidays. If you are caring for someone else, whether paid or unpaid, and no matter how many hours you do it, did you realise that you may be missing out on thousands of pounds of discounts for things that you may use every day? The Able to Care podcast is proud to be sponsored by the UK's #1 carers card. Started by two best friends who recognise that carers deserve better and are 100% committed to helping to change the lives of all carers and bringing them together as a strong community. Carers Card UK provides support, recognition and rewards. It offers reassurance by providing an ID card that helps access emergency information when needed, while also unlocking discounts, a wellbeing hub, a carers circle tool and a community through their app. All of this for less than the price of a box of chocolates a year. There are discounts on gym membership, days out, electrical goods, clothing and even glasses. Let others know you care while taking a little care of yourself with an ID card you can be proud of. Visit carerscarduk.co.uk/promo code/able to care today to order yours. So today's episode, I'm going to be talking about using Santa as a discipline tool. Now, some of you may have who've been listening to the podcast from the beginning may know my little rants about the Santa concept, and I have my major disagreements with it for a number of reasons. But one of the things I do find particularly frustrating that I think many people make the mistake of is using Santa as this discipline tool. If you don't behave, Santa won't come. Now, there are many parents out there that I completely understand. Life is stressful, life is difficult, and it just feels like a quick solution to a problem in that moment. Let's understand why this is so common. Because it is a commonly used strategy. This promise of gifts and the threat of missing out feels like a powerful motivator to be able to then get your children or get the individuals you're working with to behave as you want them to behave. It's simple. Be good or Santa won't come. In the moment, it often works as well. For many kids, it does inhibit their behavior. It stops their arguing. It starts them tidying up or tidying the room. The problem is that the approach runs deeper, and over time, it can actually undermine the behavior that we're trying to actually encourage. So, what's the problem with the Santa's watching kind of principle? One, it's fear-based motivation. A lot of the time I cover as far as the fear or the old punishment reward-esque kind of motivation can be short-term effective. The problem is that it creates all kind of long-term problems. Because it doesn't teach you, do we want children to just be obedient because they're scared not to do what we want, or because they really understand the benefit of doing things the way that we think they should be done? What's the benefit of tidying your room? Is it only because I'm scared that if I don't, I'm not going to get gifts, or because actually it's better to be organized and I can find things more effectively and it allows others to be in a space, and actually a clear room means a clear mind and all of those factors. So instead, we're getting children to act out of anxiety rather than understanding and empathy. And this is a societal problem that many people go, they wouldn't do that if they were still had smacking and things like that. But again, the problem is that doesn't seem to have helped our justice system and stuff like that. It's this case of we need to better understand or help individuals to better empathize and understand how their behavior affects others socially. The more empathy we can foster, the better we can help people to understand how their behavior impacts on those around them. They can then understand how they wouldn't like it done to them the other way around. They wouldn't like it if everybody did that to them, and therefore it improves social cohesion. So the problem with that fear base is a short-term solution that then creates a long-term problem. Because the other problems it has, it potentially undermines trust. especially if later on children find out that certain threats were made that were never going to happen. One, because certain things weren't true, but also if I then maybe didn't correct, but then the presents still arrive on the day, even if I wasn't perfect, well, it kind of sends a mixed message. Like, is it questioning the fairness of the system, as in I didn't get anything and that kid did more things wrong than me, but Santa still came to him? This is a thing that many parents forget, is that children talk. So if you've got a child at school who's had 7 detentions this month, but they still got an iPad for Christmas from Santa, and then I've done one thing wrong, and then Santa then didn't let me have anything, well, straight away, why is Santa punishing him? It demonstrates an immediate huge level of injustice, which then undermines the whole concept of what we were trying to promote. It also may impact on the honesty or the perceived honesty of caregivers, which is why I have a bit of a problem with the concept anyway, because I don't think it's a good role model to set of immediately then telling your children untruths. Okay, we are meant to be a trusted figure. And I think many of us can be affected later in life by realizing, well, if they can lie to me about that, what else can they lie to me about? It also focuses on external rewards. So I've done a lot of work and a lot of understanding of trying to help people to, or help myself and to understand that actually these external reward factors, the external validation, aren't necessarily good strategies for living a meaningful life. Because when we do something for the sake of a reward, we sometimes forget to actually recognize the validation we get from actually doing the activity. There's a really interesting study that showed that children played with this particular puzzle, and they did 2 groups. So one set of the children, they played with the puzzle, and at the end of it, they were told, if you solve this puzzle, you then get a reward at the end. Okay. Whereas the other children were just told, please try and solve this puzzle. The children who received the reward, once the experimenter left the room, they never touched the puzzle again. They never interacted with that object again. But the children who hadn't been given a reward for it went back to doing the puzzle, because actually the reward they got was playing with the puzzle itself. Whereas the children in the first group, the reward they got was the external reward. And this is a problem with the, why do I behave in good ways? Because it's nice to be good. It's nice to make other people happy. It's nice to have a tidy room. It's nice to behave in socially adaptive ways and be kind to my siblings. That should be an element of the reward enough if I get a chance to reflect on that, to learn from that, and to experience that. Whereas the external rewards of I'm only doing this to get a present, I'm only doing this so that Santa comes, straight away it's moving it outside of me. And I think we've got a huge problem currently in our society as far as that seeking external validation rather than necessarily the intrinsic or the internal validation of well done me for the sake of me, rather than please tell me I did well for the sake of other people. For many individuals around this time, the holidays is quite a high stress situation anyway. Routines often be broken. There's a lot of family coming round. So anybody who struggles with anxiety or their self-regulation anyway, adding on the whole Santa's watching narrative can then add additional stress and anxiety in situations. You know, the holidays are stressful enough without feeling like every move you make is under scrutiny. So although having the idea that somebody is watching you can improve behavior, the other problem we've got is many parents only have this strategy for this short window of time. You threatening with Santa in January isn't going to work. So if that's your main go-to strategy for managing behavior, what are you going to do in January? What are you going to do in February? I know you maybe have the Easter Bunny and maybe you got the Tooth Fairy. I don't know what other magical beings you do to try and enforce behavior from the individuals you're working with. But wouldn't it be better to find strategies that actually promote positive behaviors, positive interactions, and help you to feel better and be able to cope without relying on these external made up factors? Or hopefully nobody listening to this is going to realize what I'm saying. But as far as that, these external factors to manage those behaviors. What can we do instead? Few little tools is making sure, as my book is all about, targeting the positive, making sure you are recognizing and just appreciating the kind of the things that they're already doing right, rather than kind of pointing out the disapproval. Saying, I loved how you helped your sibling and they seem to be really happy, is what a kind thing to do, is much better than kind of then threatening with a negative. But also about teaching empathy and connection. We're always thinking, if you don't want them doing one thing, what do you want them doing? If you don't want them wrecking your house, well, if we were out giving cards to neighbors or doing something nice, then maybe we'd find that the negative behaviors would disappear. So maybe we could choose a gift for somebody else with them and focus on that side of things. However, one thing I would say is we do need to set clear boundaries and expectations. It's always a case, and all of the stuff that I teach is never a case of letting them do whatever they want. Boundaries are really important and they help individuals to feel safe. But are we being clear with our expectations as well? Because even when we're going, if you're not good, Santa won't come. Well, be explicit. What do you mean by good? I say avoid using that whole concept, but you need to make sure you know exactly what good is. What are your expectations? Because a good boss or a good manager makes sure you know exactly how to achieve your job successfully rather than leaving it ambiguous. So make sure you're being clear with what your expectations are. Also, if we are getting negative behaviors, go back to the principles we talk about all the time, as far as that it's validating the feelings, but then expressing dissatisfaction with the behavior. Remember, it's a behavior that you're not appreciating, that you don't accept, even if you accept their thoughts and feelings. It's okay to be upset, but we don't hit. Let's use our words to talk. And make sure you're always telling them what they should be doing rather than what they shouldn't be doing. Just going, don't hit. Well, how should I express my emotions? Because if you're not telling me explicitly, maybe I don't know. So to summarize on the session, I have my issues with the Santa concept, but I don't mean everybody watching this or everybody listening this should then ditch the whole Santa. There is an element of magic around it, which I completely understand. And it should be used and can be used for spreading wonder and excitement at this time of year. But please try and not use it as a behavioral cop that you can't. So you can say Santa loves to see children helping others, but I think Santa will be so proud of how kind you were today, but they don't inspire the same threat. And we don't want to be using threats, because if we're using threats, why aren't they okay to use threats on others? If you found today's episode useful or interesting, please like, comment, and share. Let me ask you a question. Do you ever find the pressures of supporting, teaching, or caring for someone else overwhelming and wish you had access to more support and information? The Able to Care podcast, in connection with Able Training, has created the ablehub.uk, where for less than the price of a coffee a week, you can access exclusive podcast content, resources, events, and over 45 certified online courses, covering topics like self-care, understanding dementia, neurodiversity, first aid, conflict management, financial advice, and so much more, with new content and courses being added each month. We are so confident that you will benefit from the Able Hub that we are offering 14 days access completely free of charge. No contract, cancel anytime. Become part of the ablehub.uk community and gain the support, knowledge, and resources you deserve. Don't struggle alone. Be able. Find the link in the description.